Hello, good evening. My name is Przemek Andrés Jankowski. I do my PhD thesis in Madrid at INIA, National Research Center. I do the PhD thesis in the ambient of Marie Curie Skłodowska Skill for Action program, which is funded by the European Union. And today I would like to present some preliminary results about temporal complementarity influence on interannual growth response of trees to drought in pure and mixed stands on the Spanish northern plateau. We are analyzing 4 typical Mediterranean tree species, which are Quercus ilex, Pinus pinaster, Pinus pina, and Juniperus turifera. And the question we ask to ourselves is if the trees respond differently to drought stress in mixed stands comparing to pure ones on years identified as drought years, of course. And how can we suppose that trees may react different, maybe even grow better during drought stress if they grow with another tree species? Well, 2 processes can be responsible for that. The first process is resource partitioning. And if you imagine a species A, for example, Quercus ilex, which is an anisohydric species, and that means that during water stress it doesn't close its stomatas and still transpirating and using water. And if it's growing with other species, isohydric species, for example, Pinus pina, and Pinus pina its strategy in front of water stress is quite different because it's closing its stomatas and ceases the transpiration and also because of that photosynthesis and growth. So what happens then? So Quercus ilex has an advantage because the water which is present on the environment is all left for it. And the other process is facilitation. Those 2 processes can be easily mistaken but are different. And we can return to the same example when Quercus ilex is uptaking the water from below ground, from deep ground layers. It makes the water more available for Pinus pina tree, and then Pinus pina can, in a certain time, can improve its growth while growing in mixed stand. And of course, a selection effect can be a consequence of any stress, of water stress also. If we have several species in a stand and some of the species are more resistant to drought stress, then even if one species die off, then the stand persists. But if all of our species in a stand or the half of species in a stand are prone to drought, then the loss of biodiversity, for example, biodiversity may be higher. We established our sample plots on this province, on Valladolid in central Spain. The climate of this region is a typical continental Mediterranean climate with very high temperatures during summer, very low temperatures, well, low temperatures in winter. So the amplitudes of temperatures are large. And the precipitations here are low. The median is average from 400 to 600 millimeters per year. And mostly the precipitation is falling from October to March. So these conditions are harsh for tree species. We established 7 plots, rectangular plots. The average area of the plot was 0.2 hectare. 4 of the plots are pure plots, composed only by 1 species, and 3 restant plots are mixed plots. We did basic dendrometric measures. We also have taken the coordinates of the trees, and we extracted almost 600 increment cores. The idea was to extract 40 increment cores per species per plot. Here you can see a map of one of the plot. Well, Okay, the main question is how, if the trees react differently to drought comparing mixed stands to pure stands, but the question arises how to quantify the response to drought. Very broadly used method is our Yoret indexes, which compares the growth of trees during drought. A drought was identified in 2012 indeed. So if we compare the growth during drought to growth before the drought, so then we obtain resistance index. If we compare growth after the drought to growth during the drought, we compare the recovery index. And the resilience index would be the division of growth after the drought to the growth before the drought. Very intuitive, I guess. So we planned to calculate Yoret indexes using indexed basal area increments. In order to obtain that, we firstly, of course, did all the basic dendrochronological analysis on our increment course. We calculate the average increment series per one tree. Then we calculated the basal area increment. We detrendized the basal area increment just in one step. We wanted to take off only the age influence on the increments. Here you can see the trendization curve of one of the tree series. And once we had the eBay series, we had to select the drought years, and we selected the drought years using Cropper indexes and SPY indexes. Okay, so to be able to answer our question, we fitted three linear mixed effects models. The first model was the simplest model with only one fixed effect of species. And to the subsequent models, we were adding another fixed effect of type of the stand, which represents the overall influence of type of the stand, if it's mixed or pure, to each of three resilience indexes, so to resistance, recovery, and resilience, exactly. And the third, most complex model has three fixed effects of species, type of the stand, and the interaction between type of species. We included also random effects of year, plot, and tree. We selected the best model by the means of Akaike information criterion. So for resistance, the most complex model resulted to be the best fitted. All the three fixed effects resulted to be significant. So species, type of the stand, and interaction between species and type has significant effect on on resistance. And what we can see here, we can see that all species in mixed stands had better resistance to drought, the only exceptions being Pinus pinaster. Here you can see the contrast between the parameters between Pinus pinaster in mixed stands and in pure stands, and well, all the effects were significant. Okay. Recovery from drought. In this case, well, firstly, we fitted the models with all three random effects, but the differences between the three models were almost unpresent. Then we just dropped the insignificant random effects. And after that, we could, with clear conscience, select the third model, the most complex, once again. Once again, the three fixed effects were significantly were influencing the recovery from drought. What is important and interesting that recovery for almost all species was lower in mixed stands comparing to pure stands, as you can see here for Pinus pina, here for Quercus ilex. The only species which showed higher recovery rate in in pure stands was Pinus pinaster. In mixed stands, sorry. Mixed, pure, yes, exactly. And the last index, resilience to drought, there is some difference in comparison to other models because the intermediate model resulted to be the best fitted. So only the overall influence of type was important for on resilience of trees. And well, the resilience of all 4 species was slightly but significantly lower in mixed stands comparing to pure stands. So, well, I said the conclusions during the presentation. I don't want to steal the time. So thank you so much for your attention.